Hey guys, we're back again with another aircraft kit. This time we're going to be looking at a little bit of an oddball kit with Nitto's 1/200th scale Concorde. Let's open her on up and take a look. So, starting off with our fuselage halves, overall the detail is very minimal. You only really have the main doors and control surfaces rendered as any type of either raised or recessed detail. It's a pretty basic job. You really only just get the overall shape as opposed to the details. Nothing on the inside other than a couple of ejector pin marks, much the same on the opposite. Since we got them together and free, let's do a quick little on-screen fit test. If I can get them to cooperate. Now, it's not terrible, but definitely not up to modern standards. This kit was originally released back in the 70s. Moving on, we've got our two different options for the nose position, as the Concorde would have a downward facing nose for landing, and then when in flight it would move up. So with this kit you're given the option through two different nose sections. We also have some of the landing gear, which for the scale isn't terrible. Continuing on, we've got our landing gear, which again are passable. I mean, they're not awful, but they're definitely not the most detailed. Some of the gear door actuators, nose gear, some of the, or actually all of the compressor fans, which again, passable. A couple of other odds and end parts, gear doors, or engine bay nacelles, and our burner cans, which have very small detailing for the feathers on them, but again, it's at least somewhat passable given the small scale. Next up, we've got our main upper wing section. Here we do have some raised detailing here along the length of it. I don't know how well this is going to show up on camera. And then again, we have our control surfaces. We do get this lower section, and we'll do another quick little fit test, which, excuse me, frankly is kind of poor. You definitely need to do a little sanding to get it to fit perfectly, and then you'd still need to do a fair bit of putty and cleanup along here. Overall, it's not a great kit, but definitely seen some worse ones. We do get a very, very tiny little thing of clear parts for the windscreen and a couple of the side windows, but none for the length of the fuselage. So you'd either have to fill those, or you'd have to find out some other solution with clear resin. Last bit of part for the kit is this little stand, which they did as two halves. I would say definitely use the stand for this one, given the low level detail in all the little compartments. Now, moving on to the decals. Now this is one area where they did at least give you some interest, as the main draw for this kit is that it gives you marking options for both a British Airways version and a JAL version. Now, JAL never actually flew the Concorde, but they did express interest in getting it when it was first announced. So it's nice that we're given the option, but looking at these decals, I have no idea if they're even usable at this point. Even if they weren't extremely aged, I just don't know. This is one you'd want to sacrifice one just to see if it'll even work. Beyond that, the coloring, despite the age, isn't terrible. The only real issue is the whites have started to yellow quite pronouncedly. They're now, instead of a bright white, or more of a dull white. So this may be one you need to look at potential aftermarket decal options for. But at the same time, it could work without issue and making a whole lot of fuss for nothing. Now, we're given two sets of instructions, one in Japanese and one in English. Now, what's interesting is the Japanese version has the marking options for both, whereas the English only has the JL playing. So that is something to be aware of, and make sure you double check both instructions. Now, as for the build-up sequence, that's the same between the both, with no real difference there. Build sequences, mainly the only thing is going to be making sure you get some of these detail parts on. Other than that, it's a pretty basic kit. Even without the instructions, you should be able to fairly figure it out and get things together. Overall, it's, like I said, it's a pretty bare bones basic kit. Now, what do I think of it? I think it's not a god-awful kit, but it's not a great kit. This is definitely one, it's really going to come down to depending on how it comes to you. Now, if you find it for like under $10, it's not a bad option. Or if you somehow get it for free, either as a gift or some type of raffle prize, definitely one I would say just have some fun with. I wouldn't, go all out on it. But the fact that you do get an option that you typically wouldn't find on a Concorde kit is a nice inclusion. So overall, this is a hit and miss one. It really comes down to whether or not the option is for you. So that was a look at Nitto's 1/200 scale Concorde kit. Bit of an oddball, but one, if you can get it for the right price, isn't a bad kit. So until next time.